you
go.
don't want to see our faces. We want to see some Dota here. So yeah, Tim's still just zoning at the moment. All right, looks like maybe need another
Caster's
quick
curse
pause.
on
Yeah,
Casters,
there you
literally.
go. We told them to put the game back on. But in terms of our, I guess we should check in on our other lanes maybe a little bit. TNC don't necessarily have the strongest safe lane here, and that's something that the panel really highlighted, that the Sand King does actually have a lot of strength here to be able to get things done. And this is already, he's already kind of made it past the big hurdle, which is getting this level 2 and getting that little bit of extra survivability from his Burrow Strike. Going for the Caustic at level 1 is always a little bit of a gamble, but to me it's actually really interesting that King Tekka has opted to just straight rush the Iron Talon here, and it looks like he's actually going to be jungling much more heavily as opposed to trying to pressure the Sven in lane, which I think really helps secure the Sven's game here. And Raven's going to be pretty scary if Infamous don't manage to take those tier 1 towers like I was talking about.
I mean, yeah, we were watching the best of 1 group stages yesterday, and just an unattended Sven gets so mean so quickly, comes into team fights around that 20-25 minute mark with a couple of items, the Mask of Madness and the Blink, and he can just destroy you. And it seems like Infamous have a lineup that might try to relatively group up in these fights, and that's just falling victim to a big Stormhammer, a couple of cleave hits.
Yeah, the jungle changes were so amazing for Sven. They were such a big deal that they had to tone back the buff on his ultimate as well, because just having the jungle spawn every minute again turned out to be a huge deal. In terms of our lanes right now, I mean, the Sven is pretty much doubling up the Jug in terms of CS, so this Legion Commander Night Stalker lane is working exactly the way that TNC were hoping it would.
Yeah, that first kill on the Crystal Maiden just made it that much more difficult for Infamous to play aggressive, play bold in that bottom lane. Jug has to play safe because, I mean, Excel, all she can do is really frostbite once and then try to bail.
Yeah, I mean, you pick this hero for the aura, and the fact that Crystal Maiden is only now getting level 2, about 3 minutes into the game, means that it hasn't been helping the lanes as much as you might like. And I feel like Infamous, their lineup isn't really utilizing the aura, at least just yet, all that heavily. The Sand King is just kind of jungling, so he's not really harassing with Burst Strike. The Queen of Pain definitely loves it to be able to farm a little bit later on, and I think even the Jug, he can be a little bit more liberal with his spin to farm the jungle later, but Infamous got to win this early.
Here we go. Matthews rotated in, disappears from mid lane, and Tim's in some trouble. The Blade Fury going to be finishing him off, and it's actually Excel getting revenge for that first blood. So 200 gold going straight towards CM, going to be able to afford some nice boots, and that's a nice chunk of XP going her way. Almost level 3 now.
I don't even know if Excel is planning on buying boots right now. He's got 3 Observer Wards in his quick buy. So.
That is the position 6 Crystal Maiden.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the plan here. Bounty Hunter probably going to get his boots, work towards an urn. They definitely need an urn this game because they don't really have a mech buyer, though they do have the healing wards to sustain their push. So again, it just really comes down to how this early game plays out. If Infamous can make the right rotations and put on the pressure. 1437, nice little glimpse away. Sends
that is his bounty rune, man.
Sends King Tekka packing and will be able to snipe the bounty rune for himself.
So back towards mid, it has evened out a little bit. Obviously, Lina started out just a bit better in terms of CS with the Bounty Hunter there to move around. Since he went bot lane, I mean, Quap is still doing well, even a true one-on-one lane. Queen of Pain still farming up nicely, and Lina a little bit behind in terms of CS.
The Lina just farms jungle so much better than the Queen of Pain, so even if you're a couple of CS behind in terms of the laning stage, I don't think it really matters all that much. Cuckoo has gone for the double Null Talisman build just to try and contest a little bit more, and we see the same thing on the other side of the river with Tomato going for the double null into the magic wand. So both of them, a lot of damage, a lot of right click. And
it's just so staple for magical damage mids right now.
Yeah, everybody's doing it. I mean, even Invoker, it makes kind of a little bit more sense for someone like Queen of Pain, who's typically going to build it into a Veil.
Yeah,
Action
Tim's
bot.
hunted down again. This Night Stalker during nighttime might go down again, and he's going to be able to flap over the cliff. One more snowball goes at him, and Matthews there, but does he really have anything to be able to stop Tim's? The movement speed is too much, so Night Stalker gets off with a warning this time, but I mean, it's nighttime. He should be the one killing. He should be the one moving aggressively, and he just has to run back to his fountain. A huge waste of time there for TNC.
Yeah, the one thing I will say for Tim's is that he's probably feeling pretty happy with how things are playing out right now because he knows that he's keeping the supports away from mid and away from top. And that's really just the focus, I think, for TNC this game. Once they get the necessary farm on their Sven and their Lina, I think this game becomes extremely easy. Even if the Legion Commander is a little bit behind, I don't think that really matters.
First Laguna Blade dumped out. Matthew is able to run himself away, but that is definitely a good use of that sentry ward there. Bounty Hunter, though, he's going to know that that's there, able to de-ward, and now Cuckoo doesn't have that Laguna Blade for the next couple of seconds, so Quap can go forward and just punish a little bit more.
Yeah, the Quap does have her level 6 now, so there might be some kind of a kill opportunity, but they really need the Crystal Maiden or the Sand King, or maybe even both of them to rotate in to find that kill. And Cuckoo playing pretty conservatively. He is actually getting gone on right now. Tomato tanking the whole creep wave under the tower.
Oh man, Tomato just wants to go, but the Light Strike Array holds that quad back, and now she's just got to run. Tim's moving forward with that clarity going, and that's going to be another kill. Cuckoo splitting the different Tims on that one, but we talked about Queen of Pain getting aggressive, but just tone it back a little bit.
Yeah, I think the Lina just a little bit more survivable than Tomato was anticipating, and Cuckoo finds himself a very lucky regener, and he's making a rotation straight down towards bottom. This is very unexpected for Infamous.
Yeah, Excel goes, gets the Frostbite off onto the Lina, holding her back for just a little bit. While the first duel comes out, it won't be successful, and now Sam H extremely low while Ben Jazz cuts his way through the trees. Matthew still crawling around, still getting good vision. Can they initiate on Cuckoo here? The Burrow Strike connects, goes in. They get the heal from the Legion, but it looks like there might be a little chance there for TNC to get back without a scratch, but still big movement in from the Lina. All that time, Queen of Pain is still farming lane. Still getting a lot out of it.
Yeah, the Lina just being kept away by the Crystal Maiden. Really nice reaction from Excel. Came around that corner out of the fog. Immediate Frostbite prevented the Lina from backing up the duel, and managed to save him there. But in the meantime, this top lane is being completely left. Raven to his own devices. He's got 72 CS right now. Yeah. Which is absolutely ridiculous for 7 minutes into the game.
I mean, his net worth, he's almost doubling up the Queen of Pain. And now we got another duel coming in with the Laguna Blade. There's enough damage. They follow up with the Light Strike Array. So Cuckoo gets credit for the kill, and Sam H gets his first chunk of damage. This Legion off to a really good start. I mean, pretty much has crippled the Juggernaut. Juggernaut we saw in the level breakdown, only level 4 to Sven's 6. So those safe laners are starting to have a real big difference between them.
Yeah, and the Legion Commander, I mean, even though it was picked early, it's turned out to be so valuable this game, just in terms of the press the attack. You know, Burrow Strike comes in, you can immediately get rid of that, able to purge off the dagger from the Queen of Pain, the track from the Bounty Hunter, the Frostbite from the Crystal Maiden. So lots of good stuff for Sam H here against a lineup with comparatively little lockdown. And I think that's what the panel talked about really for Infamous, is that, you know, they don't really have that many ways to initiate fights other than this last pick of the Sand King.
Yeah, so right now everyone just kind of grouping up. It's daytime, so Night Stalker can't get too crazy, but it looks like his team is still trying to make a movement towards that bot lane. They find a nice little arcane rune for Lina. She's gonna thoroughly enjoy that. Our Bounty Hunter just about to hit his level 4, so still a long way off from that track. I mean, how valuable is that track here? Is that really Infamous's key back into this game and evening out the net worth disparity?
I mean, it matters if they're actually winning fights and able to get kills, but Bounty Hunter, similar to a lot of the heroes on the TNC side of the map, is only really good when you're ahead. He can kind of make a comeback if your team has the better late game to begin with, but yeah, this Bounty Hunter has been way less successful than the Night Stalker so far this game, but as I say that.
Courier flying through, but looks like they're going to keep focus here, trying to go onto the Legion, but Sam H is able to go get the regen off. The Frostbite holds her down, but she's able to gobble a Fairy Fire and make it back under tower, so some split decision means that they're going to just continue to focus the Night Stalker. Night Stalker's the one that ends up going down there. We didn't catch the tail end of that kill, but pretty clear that it was one or the other, so Night Stalker takes one for the team.
TNC back up in the area. They get a glimpse of the Bounty Hunter out of range of the sentry.
Yeah. Going to be sitting there in the Static Storm, biding their time. Now Sven going to show up, and here he goes. There's a spin coming in from the Juggernaut, but there's just so much damage coming out. Cuckoo potentially in some trouble, drops the Laguna Blade, but gets killed herself. So lots of bodies hitting the floor here. Both supports from Infamous down, and it's getting heated here. 4-6 kill score, slightly in favor of TNC. I mean, is that what they want right now? Does Infamous really need to be ahead at this early part of the game, or is their stride not yet hit?
I think they really do have to be ahead. They have to get rid of these tier 1 towers on top and mid to have any chance of winning this game. Because I think in the neutral game, when both teams are just sitting there and farming, TNC have by far the better lineup. And I think a big part of that is that they have the Sven. Sven is a hero that can actually farm Ancients, whereas on the Infamous side, unless Juggernaut buys a Battle Fury, which is a very uncommon build these days, they don't really have any way to utilize the Ancients this game. So TNC definitely with the farm advantage, and I think even just better jungle farming heroes overall. You compare the Lina to the Queen of Pain, for example, she's always going to get a bit more out of the jungle.
Tim's going to get jumped here, just goes for the straight TP out, and I mean, there is really a lack of stun on the side of Infamous, especially at the early levels. Unless you have the Crystal Maiden there with ample mana to Frostbite, unless you've got the Sand King ready to go, I mean, there's just so many ways just to bail out with a TP.
Yeah. going back a little bit earlier to that big engagement that we had bottom, I'm a little bit confused as to why TNC even chose to take that fight. I think part of it is that they've already taken the tier 1 offlane and the tier 1 mid, so their two cores in Cuckoo and Raven were both like, oh, there's a fight happening bottom and there's space for me to use, but there isn't a tower for me to pressure, so they both made the decision to rotate down towards the bottom side of the map, but I don't really feel like there's that much pressure on TNC right now to actually go for kills and make anything happen. They can wait for their Echo Saber and the Blink on the Sven, they can wait for the Blink on the Legion Commander, they can wait for the Bloodstone on the Lina, and I think they can be more than content to just sit back, utilize the Dragon Slave and the overwhelming odds to just spam out these waves.
I mean, are TNC on a timer at all, or are they just going to get bigger
I
and badder as the game goes later? And ooh, hold that thought, as there's a silence on the Jug. He can't spin, he can't do a whole lot. Laguna Blade committed. I mean, they're going to drop 2 ults for it, but value kill there as the Juggernaut, I mean, he just feels so far behind the Sand King in terms of net worth, and almost matched up with that 4 Night Stalker. Yeah,
that was a sick kill, and we're just about to settle into the next nighttime as well. So this is where TNC get really scary. I think they're going to establish a bunch of vision over in the Radiant jungle, probably start farming over there for the most part, because Infamous can't really utilize the Dire jungle all that much right now. So instead of letting Infamous have 1 jungle and they have 1 jungle, it can be TNC with 1 jungle and Infamous with half of a jungle pretty much at the most to use. So
already some big pressure from TNC. I mean, these best of ones, they've got to really get in the team's heads, and they just want to go, 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 push their advantage. And I mean, just looking at the overall net worth graph, I mean, there is already a pretty solid advantage stacking up for TNC, and they're just going to continue. I mean, how does Infamous get back in this and force TNC to start making some huge blunders, especially now at this nighttime?
Yeah, so I think they have to wait out this night. They have to just kind of bide their time, try and get 1 item on the Jug, maybe try and get to his Yasha, something along those lines, and then they have to go for an immediate smoke. The Sand King does have his Blink now, so maybe they make a rotation, which is maybe a somewhat unexpected time, but unfortunately King Tekka is running right past this great TNC Observer ward.
Yeah, so that is a nice deep ward.
They've seen his Blink Dagger, they know that it's there, and it's even maybe setting up for a tier 2 push a little bit in the future. But I still maintain that I don't think TNC are under any pressure to actually go and make plays on the Radiant side of the map right now. The Sven is just, he's so set right now this game. I don't know how Infamous are going to deal with him.
Well, you say they're not going to try to make plays, but TNC, they're going in. There is a smoked up Infamous making their way up towards the top lane, but I mean, they're just a little late to the party.
Yeah, and I mean, the Queen of Pain's TP'd all the way back, so they don't have their Veil, they don't have the Sonic Wave for this.
Seems like they're still going to try to push forward. Again, they do have that Blink debut on the Sand King, and Epicenter still does a good amount of work at level 1. Yeah. So we'll see if they're actually, I mean, this is a really deep commit. There's a scan, but there is no Radiant Vision that deep. So they're going to go. They're going to start the fight off with the track onto Tim's. Glimpse back forward is going to make sure that the Juggernaut can't go and do his damage. So Matthew, I mean, he's just spamming out as many tracks as he can get before he inevitably dies. He gets killed by the overwhelming odds, and there's going to be the initiation with the Epicenter, but both heroes still alive, and Omni comes forward, but there's a duel, and he's dead anyway. Oh no, this is a disaster right now for Infamous. The Legion Commander does go down, but trading for 4, TNC definitely get the better end of that exchange as Sand King's just left to TP home.
You see the power of the Max Warcry in that fight. The Omni Slash comes in, but it doesn't actually kill somebody, so the Legion Commander is able to get off the duel. Still went down in the end, but at least got the lockdown, and TNC winning that fight really convincingly. I feel like that was a super obvious rotation from Infamous, mostly because they just scouted the Blink Dagger, so they knew that they were trying to play around that timing, and the fact that there was nobody showing in either the mid or the bottom lane at that time.
You can see that Infamous are struggling to initiate the go, and Matthew's dumping tracks, but then it's really down to the Sand King to go initiate down bottom, but there's also a fight going on up top where they already lose the bounty, and they're just struggling. Infamous are kind of herded around this patch of trees, and TNC, I mean, this was just their territory. They had total control of the area, and I guess Infamous just walking into their open jaws there. TNC now pulling a pretty solid net worth lead.
Yeah, I feel like TNC didn't even necessarily execute that fight perfectly. They glimpsed back the Jug. I think maybe they were trying to force the spin.
Oh, here we go. Excel just caught out. Nice quick pick onto a support. I mean, there's really no way she gets out alive, so it's small. It's not super impactful, but it's just more time the CM's off the map, more times wards aren't going to be placed down, and the TNC, they are just dominating this turf. The deep wards have been phenomenal. You can see there's still one up top near those river rotations.
Yeah, and I mean, the one nice thing for Infamous is that they do have the Bounty Hunter to be able to move around and still establish some vision on the map, even when it's as dark as it is right now. But, I mean, TNC are inevitably going to go for a gem at some point. They've got the Night Stalker on their side, so definitely looking at that for a little bit later on in the game. And they've got the blink on the Legion Commander now, so TNC, those items that I was talking about, the blink on the Sven is 100 gold away, the Bloodstone not too far for the Lina, and that blink on the Legion Commander, it's looking like it could be go time soon, but I think they could also just farm up one more round of items if they really wanted to. All of their tier 1 towers are still standing.
Yeah, I mean, that's another point. Infamous, they have a draft that really wants to get early map control. Their push is pretty good at early levels, and they just haven't found any towers. Is that TNC defending exceptionally, or is that Infamous just not grouping up with a game plan and not really focusing objectives?
I think it's mostly that there's a huge disconnect between the impact of Matthew and Tim's this game. The Night Stalker choosing to play offlane as heavily as he did made the Bounty Hunter feel as though he had to spend time bottom, which meant that they couldn't utilize the Bounty Hunter to try and win the other lanes. Like, we even saw the Sand King just buy an Iron Talon and go and jungle. I think they would have had, if they'd played that offlane in a different way, they would have had kill potential on the Disruptor, but instead they just let TNC have the top lane absolutely for free, and the result of that is this monster Sven.
Here we go, big smoke up the mid lane. They're trying to make something happen, but Sam H waiting in the wings. They're going to reinitiate. Raven goes forward. That Bounty Hunter is just food, and now Tim's, the initial jump there, he's still alive. He's at half health. I feel like Infamous, they just can't take those fights under towers, and TNC are so quick to react. They've always got the resources they need. It's just a tough game. I mean, how did TNC get in this position? Their lanes were, relatively even for the first part. They got a nice first blood. They moved the Night Stalker, but I mean, how did it come to this, where it feels like TNC are just this wall that you can't push against?
I mean, I think it's a big part of it is the draft. They picked themselves the Lina and the Legion Commander, both of which are very difficult to push into. They also had that exceptional lane in the off lane, which really meant that even the Sand King's first rotation was to the off lane. So the two heroes mid and safe lane for TNC have just had so much time to farm. I don't even know if Infamous have been mis-executing that much. They've been pushing their buttons pretty well, but it's just the overall rotations on the map that haven't really been there. And you look at this Jug, and he's just so scared. Infamous are trying to make this call to play split and try and catch their Jug back up, since he hasn't even finished his Yasha just yet, 18 minutes into the game. He's actually the poorest core on Infamous right now, but he has to hug this tier 2 tower to be able to get any CS. He doesn't really see all that much of TNC right now, and they're actually looking for him.
Yeah, they go in, they're gonna get a duel here, and this is not looking likely that he survives. That's another kill going the way of Cuckoo. More dual damage from Sam H, now rocking 30. And meanwhile, the Sven just took out the tier 2. He's now doubling up the Juggernaut's net worth, and he's just gonna go straight for tier 3. This is high ground, and again, this is Infamous's life in the tournament. TNC, they are playing their minds out. They're gonna go forward, and that Crystal Maiden never stood a chance. Just evaporated by Raven, who is pretty much untouched this game. 4-0-2 on the Sven. Takes out the tier 3 like it's nothing, and now going straight in towards the racks. My goodness, it's looking like TNC are trying to close this one out early, again with the best of 1 lower bracket. That's it. There is
that was a sick blink.
Yep.
Yeah. And going even further back, I feel like TNC, they gave Infamous a lot of respect in terms of the draft. They did their homework, they looked at their games, they banned a ton of their heroes. Not letting them get the clockwork like the panel was talking about. They banned out their Bat Rider. They really, I feel, they respected Infamous about, in their potential in this best of 1 to get that kind of run at you, very fast, very aggressive lineup going, and they've just dealt with it so well.
Yeah, I mean, if Infamous were to get back in it, it's already looking pretty grim. You can see the 12K net worth disparity. I mean, do Infamous just have to have a phenomenal high ground defense? Do they need to smoke and go for pickoffs? Because it seems like TNC is not giving them any windows.
Their deep push sucks, so they have to take the fight outside of the base. There's no way that they can actually let TNC get up onto the high ground, because otherwise the Sven's just going to destroy your buildings, and the Legion Commander's always going to be there to bail them out with the press the attack. So I think the kind of play that they have to go for here is a big smoke wraparound. Hope that they can get a big epicenter combining up with the Veil, and that will probably be enough damage to decimate the backlines, and without the control of the Disruptor and the Night Stalker, that's where maybe the Queen of Pain can actually survive a little bit longer and really get multiple volleys of spells off and be able to kite around the Sven. But it's getting more and more difficult as more and more items roll in for TNC.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, Infamous can't just go and try to right-click the Sven down. He is larger than life, almost 12K net worth on him. I mean, he is just huge right now. Has the Echo Saber up. We talked about his Blink debut, and now he's almost going to be at that full BKB. So all that magic damage coming out of Quap, Crystal Maiden, it's going to do nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't care about the Jug because of the War Cry, and he's not going to care about the rest of the team in a second because of the BKB. So Sven is about to absolutely enter God mode. I mean, a sub-8, like an 18-minute Rax with this kind of a lineup, which doesn't even necessarily hit buildings all that well, I think that speaks volumes about how well TNC have been, strategizing and executing in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a lineup for TNC where, I mean, they're not playing against a timer. It seems like, no one told them that they don't have to worry about time rating anymore. But, I mean, they're just getting active so early with the Sven. Sometimes we don't even see Svens leave the lane till this point in the game. Now, initiation goes in, another fight. They're focusing down the Sand King in the corner. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is starting to crumble over here. So, Infamous, they lost their Sand King who TP'd out. 2 heroes dead, and now it's Matthew on the run. Just, buying some time for himself. But he's dusted up. They see him, and he's going to hit the grave again. So, Cuckoo now with a triple kill, the final tier 2, or rather the top tier 2 going to be falling. They still got to take out mid, but this is looking like another full set of racks as there's a buyback on the Jug. The death timers are still relatively low, but there's just not enough bodies, and oh my goodness, they stopped the channel of the Epi, and they're going to be able to kill off the Sand King. He forces himself down to the low ground, but there's a glimpse back, his body brought back to the high ground as this tier 3 tower is starting to get ripped apart, and there's the GG call as